November 2004. A warehouse in Los Angeles converted into a boxing gym. Hilary Swank sits on a stool in the corner of the ring, her face bruised with makeup, her body exhausted from 6 weeks of training. She's holding sides for a scene they're about to shoot. The scene where Maggie Fitzgerald begs Frankie Dunn to end her life. Clint Eastwood stands behind the camera, watching her memorize lines she'll never say. Because in the next 40 minutes, Clint is going to do something most directors would never risk. He's going to throw away the script, not because it's bad, because it's too careful, too written. And the truth he's chasing can't be found in words someone typed 6 months ago. $1 Million Baby is the most personal film Clint has made in years. It's about a boxing trainer named Frankie who takes on a female fighter named Maggie. She's 31 years old, too old to start boxing, too poor to quit her job as a waitress, too stubborn to accept that she doesn't belong in this world. And Frankie, played by Clint himself, sees something in her. Not talent, though she has that. He sees hunger, real hunger, the kind that comes from a lifetime of being invisible, of being told you don't matter, of fighting just to prove you exist. The film is going smoothly. They're ahead of schedule, under budget. Clint shoots fast, efficiently. 1 take, maybe 2, if there's a technical issue. He doesn't believe in perfection, he believes in truth. And truth happens in the moment, not in the 20th attempt to recreate something that's already dead. But this scene is different. This is the scene where Maggie, paralyzed from a sucker punch in the ring, asks Frankie to help her die. It's the emotional center of the film, the moment everything has been building toward. And the script, written by Paul Haggis, is beautiful. Poetic even. Maggie has a monologue. She talks about her life, her regrets, her dreams. She explains why death is better than living as half a person. She gives Frankie permission to let her go. It's moving, well-crafted, the kind of scene that wins Academy Awards. But Clint reads it and feels nothing, not because it's bad writing, because it's writing. It's someone imagining what this moment should sound like. And imagination, no matter how skilled, can't compete with the raw truth of a human being in pain. He calls Paul Haggis the night before they're scheduled to shoot. The hospital scene, Clint says, "I'm changing it." Paul is quiet for a moment. He's proud of that scene. He spent weeks on it. Changing it how? I don't know yet. But Hilary does. Clint, that's the most important scene in the film. We can't just improvise it. Why not? Because it's about euthanasia, about mercy killing. We need to be precise. We need to make sure the audience understands that Frankie isn't a murderer. He's giving her what she wants. Clint is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "If we have to explain it, we've already failed." The next morning, Clint arrives on set at 5:45. Hilary is already there, sitting in her wheelchair, staring at the script. She looks up when Clint walks in. "I've been working on the monologue," she says. "I think I've got it down." Clint sits next to her. "We're not using it." Hilary blinks. "What?" "The monologue. We're not using it." But that's the scene. That's Maggie's moment. That's where she explains everything. She doesn't need to explain. We've been watching her for 90 minutes. We know who she is. We know what she wants. The audience doesn't need a speech. Hilary looks down at the script in her lap. Then what do I say? I don't know. What does Maggie say? "Clint, I'm not Maggie. I'm an actress. I need lines." Clint leans forward. "Hilary, you've been Maggie for 6 weeks. You've trained like her. You've moved like her. You've fought like her. You know her better than Paul does. Better than I do." So what does she say when she's lying in that bed, paralyzed, knowing she'll never box again, never move again, never be who she was? Hilary is quiet. She's staring at her hands, and Clint can see her thinking, not as an actress trying to remember lines, but as a woman trying to imagine the unimaginable. "I don't know," she finally says. Maybe she doesn't say much at all. Clint nods. Maybe. They set up the scene. The hospital room is cold, sterile, exactly like the real I See Us, where people go to die slowly. Morgan Freeman, playing Scrap, is sitting in the corner. He's been told the same thing. No script, no lines, just truth. Clint mounts the camera himself. He's not trusting this to anyone else. He positions it close to Hilary's face, so close you can see every flicker of emotion, every micro-expression that reveals what words can't. The crew is nervous. They've never worked like this before. Every other scene had a script, had structure. This is chaos. This is terrifying. But Clint is calm. He's always calm. He walks over to Hilary one more time before they start. "You know what this scene is about?" he asks. "It's about Maggie asking Frankie to kill her." "No, it's about love. It's about a daughter asking her father to let her go, and a father realizing that the most loving thing he can do is say yes." That's it. That's the whole scene. Hilary nods, but Clint can see the fear in her eyes. "What if I freeze?" "Then you freeze. We'll work through it. What if I say something wrong?" "There's no wrong. There's only what Maggie would say." "But how do I know what Maggie would say?" Clint smiles. "You'll know. Trust yourself." He walks back behind the camera, takes a breath, looks at the crew. Rolling. The camera starts. Hilary is lying in the hospital bed, tubes and wires everywhere. Her body is motionless. Only her eyes move, tracking Clint as he walks into frame as Frankie. He sits next to her bed. Doesn't say anything, just sits. The silence stretches. 30 seconds. 45. The script supervisor looks at her notes. There should be dialogue by now, but Clint doesn't call cut. He just lets the camera run. Finally, Hilary speaks. "I can't do this." Her voice is small, broken. Clint, as Frankie, doesn't respond immediately. He just looks at her. "Can't do what, Maggie?" "This. Live like this. I can't feel my legs, can't feel my arms, can't feel anything. I'm just taking up space." Frankie leans forward. "You're not taking up space. You're here. You're alive." "No," Hilary's voice cracks. "I'm not alive. I'm just breathing. That's not the same thing." Morgan Freeman in the corner shifts slightly. He's not supposed to do anything in this scene. He's just supposed to watch. But something in Hilary's voice makes him lean forward. Frankie reaches out, takes Maggie's hand. She can't feel it, but he holds it anyway. "What do you want me to do?" Hilary's eyes fill with tears. Real tears. Not actor tears. The kind that come from somewhere deep, somewhere true. "I want you to help me." "Help you how?" She closes her eyes. The tears run down her face. When she opens them again, she looks directly at Frankie, and there's something in that look that breaks everyone watching. You know how. The silence that follows is unbearable. Clint holds on Hilary's face. 10 seconds. 15. You can see Frankie processing, calculating, breaking. Finally, he speaks. "I can't." "Yes, you can." "Maggie, I can't do that. I can't." "Frankie, please." Her voice is barely a whisper now. "I've been fighting my whole life, fighting to be seen, fighting to matter, fighting to be somebody. And I did it. For one night in that ring, I was somebody. I was a champion. And that's enough. I don't need more. I just need it to end while I'm still me. Before this place takes that away, too." Morgan Freeman stands up. It's not in any script. He just stands up, walks over to the bed, looks down at Maggie, and his face shows everything. The grief, the understanding, the knowledge that she's right. Clint doesn't call cut. He lets it play, lets the actors find their way through this impossible moment. Frankie stands up, walks to the window, stares out at nothing. "I can't lose you," he says. Hilary, as Maggie, manages a small smile. "You're not losing me. You're letting me go. There's a difference." The scene ends there. No big speech, no explanation, just a daughter asking her father to love her enough to let her go, and a father realizing he has to. Clint calls cut. The set is silent. The crew is crying. Hilary is still in the bed, tears streaming down her face. Morgan Freeman has his head down, shoulders shaking. Clint walks over to Hilary, kneels beside the bed. "That's it," he says quietly. "That's the truth." Hilary looks at him. "We didn't use the script." "No? What if it's not good enough?" "It's better than good enough. It's real." Later that night, Paul Haggis watches the dailies. He's prepared to be upset. That was his scene, his words. But when he watches what Hilary and Clint created, he understands. The scripted version was about dying. This version is about living, about choosing how your story ends, about agency in the face of helplessness. "It's better," he admits to Clint on the phone. "It's so much better." "It's not better," Clint corrects. "It's just true." $1 Million Baby wraps 3 weeks later. The final cut is devastating. When test audiences watch it, they sit in silence after the credits roll. No one moves. No one speaks. They're too broken. The film premieres in December 2004. Critics call it Clint's masterpiece. Audiences leave theaters emotionally destroyed. It makes over $200 million worldwide. In February 2005, $1 Million Baby wins 4 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Hilary Swank, Best Supporting Actor for Morgan Freeman. When Hilary accepts her Oscar, she thanks Clint specifically. "You trusted me to find the truth when I didn't know where to look. You threw away the script and made me trust myself. That's the bravest thing a director can do." Clint doesn't attend the ceremony. He's already working on his next film. Awards don't interest him. The work does. Years later, a film student asks Clint about that scene, about the decision to improvise the most important moment in the film. "Weren't you scared it wouldn't work?" Clint thinks for a moment. "No. Why not?" "Because I trust actors. When you cast the right person, when you create the right environment, they'll give you something better than anything you could write." The script is a blueprint. But the building, the real building, that gets built in the moment. And if you're too attached to the blueprint, you'll miss the chance to create something true. But what if they'd frozen? What if nothing had happened? Then we would have tried again. But Hilary didn't freeze. She knew Maggie. She'd been living inside her for weeks. And when I gave her permission to just be Maggie without the safety of someone else's words, she found something neither Paul nor I could have written. That's who Clint Eastwood is, not the man with the perfect script, the man who's willing to throw it away when something truer appears. Most directors cling to the script like a life raft. They need the structure, the control, the guarantee that if everyone says the right words, the scene will work. But Clint understands something they don't. Words are just approximations. They're someone's best guess at what this moment should sound like. But real human emotion doesn't follow scripts. It breaks free. It surprises you. It goes places you didn't plan. And if you're brave enough to let it, it creates moments that rewrite everything you thought you knew about filmmaking. On that day in November 2004, Clint Eastwood walked onto a set with a script and walked off with something better. He walked off with truth, messy, painful, unbearable truth. And Hilary Swank, terrified and brilliant, found Maggie Fitzgerald in the silence between the scripted words. She found her in the pauses, the tears, the small broken voice that said more than any monologue could. The crew watched it happen. They watched Clint throw away safety, watched him trust his actors completely, watched him create space for something real to emerge. And they learned something that day. They learned that great filmmaking isn't about control. It's about surrender. It's about being so certain of your vision that you can let it go, let it transform, let it become something you never imagined. $1 Million Baby could have been a good film with the scripted version, competent, moving, safe. But because Clint was willing to risk everything, willing to trust his actors more than his screenplay, it became something else. It became a film about the impossible choice between love and mercy. About the moment you realize that holding on is selfish and letting go is the only kindness left. About Frankie Dunn walking into that hospital room and choosing, finally, to be the father he never was. None of that was in the script, All of it was in Hilary Swank's eyes, in the catch in her voice, in the way she said, "Please," like it was the last word she'd ever speak. And Clint captured it, not by directing her, by giving her space, by trusting that she knew Maggie better than anyone, by understanding that his job wasn't to control the performance, it was to protect it, to create the safety for truth to happen, then to get out of the way. That's the legacy, not just the films he made, but how he made them, with trust, with silence, with the understanding that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tear up your carefully written plans and let life happen instead. On that sound stage, when Hilary asked what to say, Clint could have handed her the script, could have made her memorize the beautiful words Paul wrote, could have gotten exactly what he planned for. But he didn't, because he knew something better was possible, something true, and truth is always better than beautiful. That's Clint Eastwood, 74 years old, still taking risks, still trusting, still understanding that the best moments in cinema aren't created. They're captured, and you can only capture them if you're brave enough to let them exist without a net. The script for $1 Million Baby still exists. You can read it. Paul Haggis's version of that hospital scene is there, preserved. It's good, professional, moving. But if you watch the film, you won't hear those words. You'll hear something else, something raw and broken and real. You'll hear Hilary Swank barely whispering, asking her father figure to let her go. You'll hear Clint Eastwood, as Frankie, trying to say no but knowing he has to say yes. You'll hear Morgan Freeman's silence, more eloquent than any dialogue. And you'll understand why Clint threw away the script, because sometimes the truth is quieter than what we imagine it should be. And sometimes the most powerful moment in a film is the one nobody wrote, the one that just happened, the one that could only happen because someone was brave enough to trust the moment more than the plan. That's filmmaking at its highest level, not about executing a vision perfectly, about being open enough to let the vision transform, to let it become something better, truer, more human than what you started with. And Clint Eastwood, the man who rarely speaks, who rarely explains, who just works. He understands this better than anyone. He knows that silence creates space, and in that space, if you're lucky, if you're patient, if you trust your actors, truth arrives. Not because you demanded it, because you allowed it.